Ryan Elliott for Boxing News. We're in Newcastle. It's late. Kalle Sauerland. We just watched Josh Kelly win by unanimous decision over Gabriel Corzo. First and foremost, thoughts on his performance?
Fantastic. Getting a tough Argentinian number 9 in the world, out the way, which clears the path to big fights. Like I said before the fight, he's number 2 in the world now, Josh. And that gives me the ammunition by beating the number 9 to push on for that world title shot. At the same time, as we all have been discussing this week, there's a few domestic options that seems to be opening up as well.
Just on the fight itself, not quite the South American style that we expect of fighters coming over. He was quite negative, Gabriel Corzo. A bit frustrating to watch?
I think he was negative on purpose. If you look at his tapes, he doesn't box that way. He clearly had watched the Troy Williamson fight and was trying to sit back, wait for him to punch, and in fact he didn't throw a punch until he would throw a punch, which was a very deliberate tactic, and he wanted Josh to box on the front foot, and Josh quickly worked out a good way of sucking him out of that corner, and then he switched the style, didn't he? He started boxing the centre of the ring as well, and it was we saw, if you just look at like Josh's performance over the night, it was all different types of styles. So he boxed at the beginning of the fight, he had to box on the front foot, take him out the corner, and then at the end of the fight, he was doing quite a lot of rope-a-dope, which he was doing with Troy back in December in the masterclass. So yeah, I mean, whatever way he fights, it's the speed, isn't it? It's the speed, it's the reflexes, and he looks like he's having a great time in there, In fact, he looked when the fight finished, he looked more angry than when the fight was going on. He was cursing himself that he didn't get him out there. I'm like, Argentinian fighters are tough to get out there, and when they're boxing that way, they're very tough to get out there.
Just a word on what's next. We spoke earlier in the week, and it seemed a kind of a bit of a toss-up between, do we go for one of these big domestic fights? Do we pursue the world rankings that we seem to have on lock? What are you leaning towards, given the current situation with Jamel Charlo?
That the world title's a little bit out of our hands. Of course, we can, and we will lobby and push and whatever. So if that frees up, of course, it's something we jump at. At the same time, it's, very active few days going to be around the let's call it the middleweights. I know some of them are junior middles and whatever else weight they're boxing at, but we all know the different fights that are being made and names that are coming back and all different scenarios. So that will also it's difficult for me to say now what I prefer and what Josh prefers, what Adam prefers, because it's not really down to us. It's a little bit down to what comes out of the dust. But it's all, either way it's good. Yeah? Either way it's big and it's great, and that's why it's very exciting.
If you had your genie lamp there, what one fight would you want from next?
I don't know, Kelbrook for a world title? That one doesn't exist, does it? No. No, I think that for me, one of the domestic names, I love that. But then again, Tim Sue, I want to sit on the fence. Tim Sue for a world title at the Stadium of Light would be a good one as well.
Just a couple of names away from this. You said Filip Hrgovic fight news was coming soon when I spoke to you on Thursday. Friday we've got the fight news. Yeah, we've seen what can happen with Joe Joyce when you risk your mandatory position at heavyweight, but why is it really important to be in a live fight and not just sit on your hands and wait?
I think, unfortunately, the division has slowed down. We all know the reasons of fights not being pulled off, which has meant that people like Hrgovic, like Joyce, Dubois seems to have slipped in there last minute, and he's got to rubber the green because it wasn't that long ago he lost to Joe Joyce. So if you look at it like that, I would say that people like Hrgovic and Joyce, they have to take these fights because they're, Hrgovic and Joyce are proper seasoned boxers. They're not, they're not just turned heavyweight and gone up through the rankings. They've been around the the pro stroke amateur scene for years and years and years. You know, both took part in the Brazilian Olympics, you know, many moons ago now. And they can't sit there and box mediocre opponents, so they're going to have to take those risks, because they both don't want to go in and fight an Usyk or a Tyson Fury or whoever's champion when they do eventually fight for the belts. On the back of that, they want to have fights against a Demsey, McKean, against a Zhang. So yeah, it's a very live opponent. It's, got to say, it's shaping up to be a big night, August 12th for heavyweight boxing.
We know if Usyk and Hrgovic win the next fight, it'll be Usyk-Hrgovic. Eddie was talking about that one potentially in the winter in Saudi Arabia. Has there been any discussion about that initially?
No, there's not yet. But I think it's a fight that could very well, what they're trying to do down there, end up down there, yeah.
Final one, we saw Chris Eubank Jr.'s tweet suggesting that the Liam Smith fight is a go for September 2nd, at the O2 Arena. How close are we to confirmation?
We're close. A few I's to dot and T's to cross, but we're getting closer. And you know, September 2nd, O2. That's the date that's heavily penciled. Yeah.
We've been waiting and kind of wondering what the delay was, but was this always the name for Chris Eubank Jr. and you guys, as far as you were concerned?
I think with all due respect, I like the question, but we signed for this fight. We were supposed to box him a month ago. So was it always our choice? Yes, it was always our choice, but we've had the date changed 3 times. This will be the 4th date. You know, and I saw Liam put out something saying along the lines of, I'm talking shit, it ain't 3 dates yet. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll print the things out, I'll bring them to the press conference, and you can look at the full dates we've had put to us. 3 cancellations, and this would be the 4th date if we find a deal on it. Plus the first fight had a delay as well from December to January. So actually we're talking about the 5th date, which, you know, is unheard of. But I don't know if Liam knows all the dates. I've no idea. Maybe you know, even his promoter are not talking that often. But at the same time, that's why people have to understand we're slightly nervous about it.
All right, Kalle, thank you very much. It's very late. Only 1 or 2 more to do, and you're away.
7.5 hour show.